This is Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review with your NFL Week 15 betting preview as we take a look at the upcoming NFL slate. We're down to the final 3 weeks of the season. These games mean a lot for a bunch of teams, and we're going to talk about every game rapid-fire fashion. Let's go. Miami Jets. Start with that game. Very easy one to talk about. I don't trust Matt Moore in his first start on the road against the Jets. If you watched Matt Moore come in for the injured Ryan Tannehill against Arizona last week, he did absolutely nothing, zero in that football game. The only reason he led his team down the field for that game-winning field goal at the end, pass interference call, just chucked it up for grabs, got the penalty, took Miami inside the 10-yard line, they kicked the game-winning field goal, and that was that. Prior to that PI call, he was dreadful. He couldn't hit any open receivers, was inaccurate with the ball. I don't think the offensive line really trusted him back there, and it was just not a very good showing at all for Moore. But on the flip side, while I don't trust him, and I don't trust him in this road favorite role here in Miami, the Jets, you give them credit, I guess, a little bit for coming back to beat San Francisco, but San Francisco's a lifeless team. I will say this about the Jets, though. The last time they played at home, they were thoroughly embarrassed on Monday night by the Indianapolis Colts a couple weeks ago. If they're prideful at all, these athletes, and want to restore some pride, so to speak, they will probably show up with a pretty good effort here. I don't know if I trust them to, but they should. So just a tough game all around, not one I'm going to get involved with. All right, let's go on to Sunday's action now. Detroit, New York Giants. I'm a little surprised that the Giants are this low of a favorite at this point, 3.5, 4-point home favorite against the Lions. I understand Detroit has been, the underdog in Detroit games has been great. Detroit has only won one game only one of Detroit's games lately, it seems, has been by a margin of more than a touchdown. That was the victory they had over New Orleans. Every Detroit game other than that has pretty much been close down to the wire. So for that reason, I can understand why people would want to take points with Detroit here. But I'm really concerned about the status of Matthew Stafford and his ability to throw the football. Once he got that problem with his hand last week in that game against the Chicago Bears, it was just a dreadful turn of events for him. I mean, that finger was hurting, torn ligaments, and dislocating the middle finger on his throwing hand. Has to wear a glove now. Didn't react to wearing that glove very well. He was very inaccurate. He threw a pick six with the glove on, and he almost threw another one, and really just didn't do a very good job in terms of his accuracy ever since that point, and that's concerning. Now, as you go on the road, outdoors as well, a cold day it's going to be in the Meadowlands, lots of concerns here about just how effective Matthew Stafford's going to be against a New York Giants defense that, the last time we saw them, Sunday night against Dallas, that was a pretty dominant unit in all phases. They stopped the run. They were great getting pressure on Dak Prescott, certainly capable of getting pressure here on Matthew Stafford. I don't trust the Giants' offense really to lay 3.5, 4, but I think there is value in the line with the Giants. Not in love with it, but I initially was leaning actually Detroit, and at first I was interested in the Lions side, but reading more and more about Stafford's issues with the glove and with the torn ligaments, in that hand, and dislocating the middle finger on that hand, and just how it's really impacted him negatively in terms of throwing the football at the end, toward the second half of that Chicago game and going into this week. It's a concern, and it's enough of a concern where I probably don't want to back the Lions anymore at this point. Philly versus Baltimore. I think it's reasonable to lay 5.5 here with Baltimore. I think the energy level is low on this Philadelphia team. I think they realize as the losses continue to mount, as Carson Wentz continues to struggle, playoffs aren't going to happen for this team this year. They're now 5-8. They know they're probably in a situation where the playoffs are done for them. 4 straight losses, 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread. Their last 4 games, losing to Seattle, Green Bay, Cincinnati, and Washington. Now you got to play a desperate Baltimore team on the road, coming off that Monday night loss in Foxborough against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. I think you're going to get focus from Baltimore. I don't love the fact they're playing on a short week, but I don't see a lot to like about Philadelphia right now, and I feel they might be running on E at this point in time. So I think Baltimore laying less than a touchdown, probably worth a bet in that game. Green Bay taking on Chicago. It's a little tricky for me to lay 5.5, 6 here with Chicago. Going to be a cold day, maybe some wind at Soldier Field, and at times Green Bay's offense hasn't always worked well in windy conditions, and that's going to be a concern here for them. And Chicago, for as bad as they are and as bad as they've been this season with all the losses, Matt Barkley's shown you some glimpses at quarterback of playing decently, and the defense continues to fight. The team as a whole continues to battle. They're not quitting in games. They gave the Detroit Lions everything they could handle, took that game down to the wire, covered the number in the process. They've been covering some numbers lately as underdogs. I think it's no value whatsoever to lay it with Green Bay on this game. I'm not saying bet Chicago. In fact, I know I'm not going to bet Chicago, but at the same time, just don't know the value is that great on Green Bay, even though they need the game. They need to continue winning to have any realistic chances of making it a playoff spot in the NFC. So just beware. I'm not sure it's great value on Green Bay this week. Indy, Minnesota is a tough game. I think Minnesota, at least the way they won in Jacksonville, albeit it was Jacksonville, but at least shows that they've still not completely given up all hope, even though it's minimal at best to make the playoffs. Colts, I don't know. Colts to me were dreadful at home last week in a game they probably should have won, needed to win against Houston. I don't trust them. They look great on a hapless Jets team on Monday night, but then shit the bed, laid an egg against Houston last week. I got concerns about the Colts, so tough game. I don't like laying points. I will not lay points with Minnesota, and they're very, very hard to trust offense, but the Colts, I've seen enough of them that I don't trust them either. So that's going to be a game I pass on. Cleveland taking on Buffalo. This is a pass. I'm done with Cleveland. If that's the best effort they can give you off a bye week against a rival, Cincinnati, and what do? You fall behind 20-0. Robert Griffin III, 0.0 quarterback rating. Can you believe that? First half of that game, Robert Griffin III, his quarterback rating 0.0. Well, guess what, Robert Griffin III? That's also the number of people's bankrolls because of you if they had bet on the Cleveland Browns last week. What a pathetic performance. At this point, I'm wondering if they're going to go 0-16. It seems inevitable because that was as good a spot as you could ask for. Off a bye, playing a rival. Cincinnati I didn't trust on the road with the Steelers on deck this week. And Cleveland came out and played as bad as you could in that first half. Now, they did fight off, give it a good battle in the second half, try to get back into it, but it was too little too late. I'm done trusting Cleveland, but there's no way, not even maybe, do I lay 10 with Buffalo. Their playoff dreams dashed last week with that home loss to Pittsburgh. That's another game where I can't see it being a good game either way. Maybe over the total. You got Cleveland out of it, Buffalo, out of it. Maybe you get points in that football game. Just a lazy atmosphere. Just roll the football out there. Let's have some fun. But beware of the weather. Actually, the weather is a concern in Buffalo on Sunday. Could be some wind. Could be some cold temperatures. Maybe some snow. So check the weather. But if the weather's even halfway decent, maybe that game can fly its way up and over. A pretty low total, 41.5. Tennessee taking on Kansas City. Tell you what, Tennessee to me continues to battle. Tennessee's got a chance to win this AFC South division now, and I think they realize that. Kansas City, at some point, you've just got to throw your hands in the air and say, this is a good football team. They get out-yarded, out-gained in a lot of weeks. They have some issues where, they're giving up yardage, but not breaking, I guess you could say, bending, but not breaking in the red zone. Kansas City just continues to quietly get the job done. 3 straight wins, 3 straight covers at Denver, at Atlanta, home to Oakland, all very good football teams. So, it's tricky to step in front of Kansas City. That being said, Tennessee in this road underdog role has been pretty good at times. And I think Tennessee's got the running game in them to challenge Kansas City. Kansas City's run defense is only 27th in the NFL. And if DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry, that dual running back combo for Tennessee, if they can get going here, maybe Tennessee can hang around in this game. First initial lean is to Tennessee here, plus the 5.5. Jacksonville, Houston, that's a pass. I'm not laying 5 with Houston, and they're very hard to trust offense with Brock Osweiler and Jacksonville. I'm done thinking much about them. Another game they had a chance to win. What else is new? Find a way to lose. Find a way to not cover as well. So it's a game I'm not going to get involved with there. New Orleans, Arizona. Now that it's 3 across the board, I'm looking toward New Orleans now, plus the 3. Arizona's another dream crusher last week. Playoff hopes shot following that frustrating loss against Miami. Arizona ends up kicking Michael Floyd off the team. dismissing him for bad conduct. Bruce Arians accusing the Dolphins of cheating after that game. I mean, it looks like meltdown city right now by this Arizona Cardinals team, a team that's been enjoying playoff success the last few years, and now dreams are realized that, hey, we're not making the playoffs this year, and it's a bitter pill to swallow for this Arizona team. I don't trust them to show up here with a good performance or a great effort following another tough loss in Miami last week. Hard to trust New Orleans, too. New Orleans slumping a bit, back-to-back losses to Detroit and Tampa Bay. But I still have a little more faith in Sean Payton maybe pumping his team up to play this game than I do Bruce Arians pumping his team up to get ready to play this game. So we'll lean to the Saints at +3. San Fran, Atlanta, it's a Falcons are past, but it's an inflated number. And it's like they played the perfect game last week, too, against the Rams. And usually when that happens, you don't play as good the following week. But I can't endorse San Francisco. Just find a way to lose a game they had well in hand against the Jets last week. Terrible collapse in the second half. So that's a game I'm leaving alone. New England, Denver, one of the better games on the slate. We know that. Denver desperate. I think because of the spot, I'm reluctant to go against Denver here. But, if this game's close and the point spread indicates that, that's the concern with betting Denver here. Tom Brady needs to make a play to win this game late. He's very capable of doing that, and that is definitely a huge concern for this Denver Broncos team. So while Denver's desperate, they're at home against Tom Brady and the Patriots. They'll be fired up for this game coming off the loss to Tennessee last week. They need every win they can for their playoff hopes. If this game's close late, Trevor Siemian and Tom Brady, who's going to make those plays? That's definitely something that concerns me in the back of my mind. So I lean Denver, but not sure I can pull the trigger. Oakland, San Diego, and I'm a little bit surprised Oakland's just laying 3 in this game across the board. I'm just worried about the San Diego mentality here coming into this game. You fought the good fight. You've had so many crushing losses this year, but now playoffs are done after losing in Carolina last week. And the injuries are mounting up. No Melvin Gordon at running back this week. Maybe no Joey Bosa, and he's really been the only reason you've had a pass rush of some extent on opposing quarterbacks in recent weeks. That's an issue for San Diego. I think the physically and mentally spent this team finally could be. They've battled back from tough losses, but I think they finally ran out of gas. I think they've ran out of bodies, to be honest. I mean, they've suffered just a ton of injuries on both sides of the ball, offense, defense, you name it. They've just got, dozens of people on IR right now, and I just don't know if there's anybody left willing to just keep on battling for a team that now knows they're not going to the playoffs. In Oakland, extra time to prepare for Jack Del Rio. They played last Thursday, that Thursday night game against Kansas City. Now they're back in California where the weather's not going to be bone-chilling cold for Derek Carr like it was that night at Arrowhead. So he should be comfortable again. Chance maybe to get that little hand issue that he had. He had an issue with one of his fingers, and that affected him a little bit. Blister, I believe it was. And basically, that should give time to heal for Derek Carr as well going into this game. And let's not forget, San Diego's at home in this game. They are the designated home team, but they don't have much of a home field edge at Qualcomm Stadium these days. In fact, I'd expect there to be as many, if not more, Raider fans in San Diego for this game than Charger fans. So a little bit surprised that number's as cheap as it is. I would look to Oakland in that one. Pittsburgh taking on Cincinnati. I don't want the Bengals. I mean, I know the Bengals have won 2 in a row. Everybody's thinking, hey, this team's showing you some moxie, showing you some life late in the season. Well, guess who they beat? They beat Philadelphia, which is floundering, which is falling apart. And they beat the Browns. Big fucking deal. Okay? Excuse my language, but really, I mean, we're supposed to raise the pom-poms and get all excited about those 2 Cincinnati wins back-to-back weeks? Please. Come on. This is going to be the proving ground for the Cincinnati Bengals. You want to show me that you're showing some moxie, some life late in the season? Win this game. Beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are trying to cement first place in the AFC North Division as they try to stay ahead of Baltimore for that spot. Pittsburgh looks like they're coming on. I mean, they've got a healthy linebacking core. Ryan Shazier, Bud Dupree. What a difference those 2 guys have made. Defense is healthy, getting a pass rush. Ben Roethlisberger's healthy. Le'Veon Bell's healthy. I mean, on both sides of the ball, Pittsburgh's looked really good in each of the last 2 weeks, beating the Giants and Bills in back-to-back weeks. We'll see if that continues here for the Steelers, but I am not fading Pittsburgh right now. I understand Cincinnati's looked better. They've given you some reason to think that they're going to keep playing hard down the stretch, but come on. Philadelphia and Cleveland. Those were the 2 wins. Let's see you do it this week here against Pittsburgh. At this price, at -3, only way I could bet this one is to look toward Pittsburgh at -3 in this game. All right, we've got the Sunday nighter, Tampa Bay, Dallas. Fascinating game here. I'll tell you what, I'm worried for Dallas. Dallas finally has some adversity, finally lost a game. Let's see how they handle it now this week. Sunday night at home against a Bucs team that's rolling right now, clicking on all cylinders, and coming into this game knowing that they can still win the NFC South. I mean, them and Atlanta still battling for that NFC South first place spot, so it's a big game for both of these teams. I would have to lean to Tampa plus the points. I mean, I know Dallas probably has a much better game in them at home after what happened against the New York Giants last week, especially on offense. But, Tampa Bay's defense is getting pressure right now. McCoy has done a phenomenal job on that Tampa Bay defense. They're getting pressure. Jameis Winston's played better in recent weeks. And Dallas, there's no bargains to back Dallas. I mean, Dallas has now dropped 2 straight games against the spread. They did beat Minnesota, but failed to cover. And, of course, last week, lose straight up in ATS to the Giants. There's no value with Dallas right now. They're priced very, very. There's a big tax on the Cowboys, big tax and big D. And you're not getting any point spread bargains with the Cowboys. And I think Tampa Bay does have a chance maybe to keep this one relatively close. All right, let's wrap it up with Monday night, Carolina, Washington. I don't know what we're going to get out of Carolina. I know they got the win against San Diego last week, but that was a situation where San Diego played worse than Carolina. Carolina played bad, I thought, in that game, but San Diego just played 10 times worse. That's why they were able to win that game. This means everything to Washington in this game. They have to win it. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to win, though, by a touchdown or more. I think this line's getting a little bit too expensive now with the Washington Redskins. I could understand people betting it when it was 4.5 early in the week. Now it's up to 6 and even 6.5 in a lot of locations. Just be a little bit careful. That line's getting a little high. And if you like Washington, I would certainly get it before it hits 7, if it hits 7, because you're definitely missing the best of the number there. I'm not going against Washington here, but I'm just a little worried the line value may be gone on the Washington side in that game. All right, let's wrap it up. It's play of the daytime in play of the week time for Week 15 in the NFL. And which game are we going to go to? We're going to go back to the Eagles and the Ravens. We're going to lay 5.5 here with the Baltimore Ravens. Take Baltimore minus 5.5 to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. I said it earlier in this video. Another tough loss for the Eagles last week. The Eagles really gave it a good go last week against the Washington Redskins, but still came up short. I think Baltimore is going to be able to capitalize, take advantage. They need this win. They've been very good at home. Don't forget, last home game, they absolutely ambushed the Miami Dolphins. They've been a pretty good home team. They beat Pittsburgh at home this year. So Baltimore's been pretty good at home. And I think Philadelphia, running on fumes, doesn't have a lot of gas left in the tank, and the Ravens are going to take advantage of that. So let's take Baltimore minus 5.5 over the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game by at least a touchdown. That's going to be your play of the week for NFL Week 15. All right, that'll wrap up my NFL Week 15 betting preview.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.